battle that they have fought are now benefiting me and you. If you really want to show you appreciation, raise your voices with me and this pledge, let's sing along. We pledge to be good citizens from now on, casting away victimization. Corruption will cease, nepotism decrease throughout the whole nation. Our country then will be not just a society, but a just society. Let this be our pledge.
After 8 o'clock in Antigua and Barbuda. Welcome to Antigua and Barbuda tonight on this Monday, the 8th of September 2025. This is WTP 93.5 FM. My name is Darren Matthew Ward, and I'm very pleased to let you know that our first guests are in studio. I was actually quite impressed. I thought they were going to join us virtually, but at least I don't have to worry about Zoom and what's the other one? Wirecast, which sometimes gives us hell. So I'm very grateful for that, but we'll introduce our guests in just a few moments. Just some quick observations from the paper for today, just the headlines in case you missed it from the early morning shows. You know, we do things a little differently here on Antigua and Barbuda tonight. Former shareholder questions 900,000 K per room Jolly Beach renovation using Social Security funds. That's a piece there by Kishan Joseph. Acting Police Commissioner announces a cold case unit during Police Week launch. As a matter of fact, we should be having a conversation with Frankie Thomas tonight as well after our discussion with our first guest. So stay tuned for that. Police Week is underway. I think they had their church service yesterday. And we'll get our updates as time goes by. CBH launches major anti-rodent campaign in 5 communities. Amen to that. And I don't think individuals will have trouble with that at all. We all love to hate rats. Antigua and Barbuda set sights on becoming a major Caribbean transshipment hub. We did have Darwin Telemack on our program last week. Very comprehensive responses to our questions, and we're grateful for his time here on Antigua and Barbuda tonight. Prime Minister, let's not be paralyzed by inaction. That's the headline in the Point Express. You know, we try to do things balanced here. Prime Minister Gaston Brown delivered a powerful call to action address at the 2nd Africa-Caribbean Summit held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, from September the 6th to the 8th. So it concluded today. In his usual frank and no-nonsense manner, Prime Minister Brown urged attendees to seize the opportunities before them to forge greater and meaningful ties between Africa and the Caribbean as the time for fancy speeches was over. All right, so you get a sense of what's in that paper. 2025-26 academic year will be a transformative time. That's according to the Director of Education, another guest on Antigua and Barbuda tonight. This was last week. And I know many of you have held me to the promise that we promised to bring him back along with the person responsible primarily for the strategic planning to deal with mathematics in particular. And I intended to keep that promise. All right, so just stay tuned for that. We will let you know in due course. Final story that I'll highlight from the Point Express. Rotary Club of Antigua marks 53rd anniversary with annual Volunteers Day. And that took place on the weekend. So you can read more about that. There's a lot more in the paper. And in both papers, we just sort of skim the surface just to give our guests some time to settle in while we turn our attention to what is within their remit. Michael Joseph, Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment and Civil Service Affairs, alongside Her Excellency Ambassador Rulita Camacho Thomas. Antigua and Barbuda participated in the ministerial meeting of Latin America and the Caribbean for the implementation of the Regional Climate Action held on the 25th to the 26th of August in Mexico City. Ministers and representatives from the region convened to forge a united position ahead of the COP30 in Belém, Brazil. Do I have that pronunciation correct? Belém. Okay. Belém?
Belém.
Okay. All right. Belém. I've never heard of Belém, Brazil. I've heard
It's
of
in
Rio.
the Amazon jungle.
It's in the jungle.
That's right.
Oh, you going to the jungle, Michael?
We don't have a choice.
Oh, okay. All right. During the plenary session, Minister Joseph emphasized that for small island developing states, you've heard the acronym, I'm sure, many times, SIDS, like Antigua and Barbuda, the transition to low-carbon resilient economies is an economy-wide challenge requiring transformative, non-debt-creating finance. He highlighted the importance of accountability from the world's largest emitters, noting that rights without remedies is not justice. Antigua and Barbuda's delegation also participated in a special session on sargassum, where innovative uses for sargassum biomass were demonstrated. While acknowledging the value of innovation, the delegation stressed the urgent need for sustainable management and financing for large-scale cleanup operations, given the mounting costs. Minister Joseph and Ambassador Camacho Thomas used the opportunity to meet with Alicia Barceno, who's the Minister of the Environment and Natural Resources of Mexico, and Andre Correa de Logo. Hope I have that all correct, but they're not listening, so they probably won't hear. He's the designated president of the 2025 UN Climate Action Conference, COP30. I want to say good night and welcome to you both, and again, we really appreciate it. We appreciate it always when our guests join us in studio, especially on a rainy night at the beginning of the week. And Mondays are usually manic. So I really appreciate it. Welcome to you both.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you, listening audience, Darren.
For the benefit of our listeners, what is COP30? I think Antiguans and Barbudans should have an idea now, because we had COP. What's it? What we had here? We had a big
SIDS.
We had SIDS here.
Yeah.
All right.
So we've never hosted COP.
We've never hosted COP, but we've heard the term COP.
Yeah.
So tell us what is COP30, and then we'll take the conversation from there. And I think,
Take it.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
so I'll
take it.
yield to Ambassador.
Her Excellency will take this
And
question.
she's been attending COP a long, long time before.
Good evening. Good evening. Okay, what is COP? So Antigua and Barbuda signed on to the UNFCCC Convention, which is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And annually, that convention hosts a conference of the parties. Now, since the original convention was signed, there are some protocols that have gone along with the convention. So one is the Kyoto Protocol, and the other one is the Paris Agreement. And so the conference of the parties is for the convention, and then there is the meeting of the parties, and then there's also the meeting of the parties for the Paris Agreement. So it's actually 3 separate meetings of the member states of each of these agreements that happen. So there's the parent body and the 2 side bodies. Now we just call it COP because it's simpler,
All-encompassing.
it's all-encompassing.
Okay.
But there are some differences. For example, there are some member states who have signed on to the Paris Accord and not have not signed the Paris Accord, but would have been under the convention. So there are these differences, but everybody meets. It's a big meeting because there are also technical bodies of all the agreements also meet at the same time.
Okay.
So there are the subsidiary bodies for the convention that meet. There are 2 subsidiary bodies. One is an implementation body, and one is a scientific body. So those that discuss the real science, and those that discuss the implementation. And there are other bodies that meet, that contribute. And on each one of these streams now, there are agenda items. So we can have sometimes in one period of time up to 50 meetings at one time. Meetings usually last between 45 minutes to 3 hours. So it is really, really hectic. A lot going on, a lot of decision making, and a lot of negotiations. Now, aside from that, a part of the COP now is what I consider a climate trade show that happens, and that has outgrown the actual negotiation sometimes, where there are people demonstrating technologies and having side events, looking at promoting climate solutions, demonstrating what they do, networking. So a lot of that also goes on. So that's what COP is.
That sounds like
A lot.
a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot, and it requires quite a large delegation to actually make it happen.
Because one person can't be in all them different meetings obviously
Impossible.
at the same time.
No, and then you have different levels as well of the discussion that takes place. So you have the Prime Minister and Senior Minister Joseph and Minister, even myself, will take place in a specific level of discussions. Then you have the technicians like Ambassador Camacho who will be involved. So they actually stay a lot longer than we do.
Okay,
Because
y'all
we
just go in there, show your face,
For the-
give a big speech, and then
We
go.
do the
And
political
leave them.
talk and leave them to handle all the business. So we make the position clear as to what our country is and what we're standing for and what we're advocating for.
Okay.
And they negotiate along those lines.
And one thing I must add, Antigua and Barbuda actually plays a leadership role in a lot of these things. So,
Yes.
for example, we co-chair agenda items. So we are the chairman to try to lead negotiations on agenda items. We all, some of our team also lead negotiators for either CARICOM or AOSIS. So they're carrying the position of either the CARICOM group or the bigger alliance of small island states groups. So it's a lot.
Here's a question for both of you, and I don't know, you can both have a go at this. What is the objective and the benefits to Antigua and Barbuda's participation in the ministerial meetings on climate change action, generally? I guess from a ministerial point of view, you'll take this one.
Yeah.
What's the benefit?
So the benefit of our participation in these meetings is, I tend to think of, imagine a discussion is taking place and you're not in that discussion.
Right.
Then the outcome can either be in your favor or against your favor. Our participation ensures that if we're at the table, it means that our voice is always heard. I remember in February I was at a meeting and Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, he made it very clear, where he said, as small island states, as Caribbean states, we have to make sure we're at the table, because if we're not at the table, then we're on the menu. And this is the reality that we face as small island states. So every time we go to these ministerial meetings, because of course it's not just one ministerial meeting, as a matter of fact, there'll be another one towards the end of this month. But when the ministers meet, everybody wants to have a unified position. The challenge with the position is that many times our Caribbean countries, because our issues in our countries considered so small, we tend to find that our positions are often diluted and larger countries are more influenced. Exactly, or drowned out. Or sometimes just isn't even taken into consideration. And so we continue to have to push and to fight to make sure that there's significant mention, there's acknowledgement, there's position that goes into whatever the decision is. Because once that goes to COP, this is going to be the position of the region. This is going to be the position of CARICOM. This is going to be the position of OECS. And so we have a very, very important responsibility in making sure that we represent not just the voice of Antigua and Barbuda, but for all the Caribbean countries, especially those that aren't at the table, which most times everyone can't be.
Okay, understood. There's so many questions popping up in my head. So let's try to sift this through as best we can. What are some of the biggest existential threats to small island developing states like Antigua and Barbuda? Of course, people here, all politics is local.
Yeah.
We are concerned about our own backyard. What is the largest or most significant existential threat that we face?
Climate change and all its impacts, which are financial, economic, socioeconomic, and sociocultural. It has been changing our way of life slowly, and the rapid onset of changes are now going to force us to change more rapidly. So human beings, we are resilient, right? That means that we as Antigua and Barbudans, Caribbean people in general, tough times have happened and we will figure out a way to come out of it. I think the issue with climate change is, in addition to all the other geopolitical health risk and threats, and issues that we have to overcome. We now have our climate that usually is working in our favor, now working against us, right? So you have heat, excessive heat, not only air temperatures, but sea surface temperatures. And when we say sea surface, we mean down to 100 feet, causing other impacts. And then we have this rapid intensification of hurricanes and prolonged droughts. We see all kind of change. Well, some changes are positive, right? Because my mango tree on its fifth crop.
Fourth crop?
Yeah.
No.
Mine is only bearing now.
Right?
Kidney? Okay.
But there are changes that are happening in our environment.
Right.
There's these weird weather patterns that not being able to predict what's going to happen, affecting even our nutritional security, food security, even affecting our productivity. And then the responses to that now are diverting energy, thinking capacity, human resource capacity, just intellectual capacity, away from our traditional development pathway into trying to fix and resolve these problems. The way we try to surmount that is to try to think of climate change in development, but there is an incremental additional cost. Economically, a real economic cost, a cost in terms of loss of culture and diversion of energies generally that we have to account for, that we have the opportunities that we are not able to access because of climate change, and that is across the board.
Very interesting indeed. And so essentially, we already have a very narrow bandwidth in terms of our financial resources.
Yeah.
To what extent have we gotten the help? Because people are going to say, well, look, we've been doing this. We've been hearing your predecessor, Ambassador Diane Blacklane. She would have been preaching this gospel now for I don't know how many years. People may be asking the question, what did she accomplish over that period of time? Did the big countries, who are really the guilty parties in this, in terms of the emissions and the impact on climate change, have they even moved the needle?
Yeah. And I think that that's one of the things that we highlighted very strongly when we were in Mexico City. And when we look at also the COP, this is expected to be the COP of truth. This is why it's being held in the Amazon forest, because it's supposed to be the global stocktake. It's where we're supposed to look and see, these are the commitments we made over the years. And this is really what has happened. So where you have countries that had committed to reducing their emissions, this is where they fail. Where you have countries that have committed financial contributions to poor countries, this is where we are. When we're talking about the loss and damage fund, this was established, this is where we are. And so that is expected to be what this COP is supposed to deliver. But when we look locally, what we're seeing is that while we may have access to some funds, the funds are very, very restrictive. They're very limited. And this is the problem that we're saying, where we're arguing that what we really need for countries like ours is access to financial mechanisms that, one, do not increase our debt burden. Because many times they're saying to you, well, we make low interest loans available to you. But if I'm borrowing money and I have to pay back the interest on that, and I'm spending that money to build out my resilience, to deal with climate issues, but on top of it, whether it's a 2 or 3% interest, there's an additional cost on it still. So what we're saying is that we require interest-free mechanisms, even if it's loan, preferably grants, but if they're loans, that it should be interest-free. There also should be mechanisms in place where, there's this whole trade-off now for carbon emissions, which is a new thing that they're establishing if you can sell a carbon, which is quite difficult as well to monitor. Ambassador Blacklane previously, she's worked a lot in bringing a lot of projects on specific areas. But when we look at our overall development, when we look at our economy and how much it costs, it is still very significant. What we've been able to access over the last 10, 20 years is nominal compared to what's required.
That's actually a question I have on my mind.
Yeah.
How much money have we been able to access?
So I'll answer that. No, not how much money, but the question you asked was interesting
Yes, sir.
because it presumes that there's an amount that's going to be enough. It's going to keep going and going and going and going. This is an incremental difference in your regular development pathway. So let's say you have $10 which you budget for utilities.
Right.
Your utilities now always cost 20. So when you ask the question, have we received enough money? Has climate change stopped?
No.
Has it
No.
reduced?
Has it
It's
reduced?
gotten
No.
worse.
It's just getting worse. And so it's not only we needed $5 last year, but since we have this bleaching impact, then we need 10 more. And then next year, instead of just 15, because we're now at 15, we're going to need an additional 20. And then it keeps going and going. And so when you think about climate change, there's some uncertainty, yes, because there's a lot of things that are happening before it was predicted. Ocean temperatures are warming much more rapidly, and they're fluctuating. So in we in my other work, we measure ocean temperatures real time. So we have a graph from 2022, and 2024 was the highest. And then we're back now, just slightly under 2024 now. But they will fluctuate. They will fluctuate.
Okay.
And then there are impacts that you just didn't expect. And there are other impacts that are happening that are cumulative.
Okay.
So then you have this happening that affects that, that affects that, that affects that. And so these issues now, have we received money? Yes.
Okay.
Did we have an outcome? Yes, we've had outcomes. Did it solve the problem? No. And I think that is the issue. I reflect all the time, Minister, if you'd allow me, at a negotiation that I went to when I realized what this issue was. This is not an environmental issue. Climate change is an economic and developmental issue. When you have a negotiator, people ask you what the value of your village is. So there's a calculation that is being done globally, and we do this calculation. What is the cost of adaptation? And we say we're up to how many trillion now? Okay, so we say 1.73 trillion.
Right.
That's what we need. But that is assuming that you're keeping temperatures at 1.5 degrees Celsius. 2024 was the first year that we exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now we're coming back to the science, because I'm a scientist by training.
Right.
We always knew that on the current development pathway, there would be we would pass the threshold and then return.
Okay.
The cup of truth now is to see when that return will be.
This is the one in Balem.
Belem.
I'll get it before the show.
So this is all the NDCs now, the new NDCs. This is the nationally determined contributions to say what the big emitters are doing are going to be due in Belem. And we will have basically some maths being done to say, all right, according to what we're doing, this is when we'll surpass. And then that is just what they say they're going to do. Right. We know from the last stock take that was done that what was reported to be done and what the impact was. They didn't equate.
Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a pause in this conversation. We're going to share some messages, and we're going to come back. This is Antigua and Barbuda tonight. We're having a discussion with Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, the Honorable Michael Joseph, alongside Her Excellency Ambassador Rulita Camacho Thomas. We'll continue right after this.
This is WTP Radio, 93.5 FM, coming to you from the biggest village in Little Antigua.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Police Force Drama Group presents for Police Week 2025, No Second Chance, a play written and directed by Owen Jackson. When good youths make bad decisions,
leave the criminal activities to the criminals. I never raised no criminal. Look how you go to jail and take the work for all of them.
And them boys are trying to take care of my mother.
Terry, we don't see Ibis nor Scotty since you get locked up. We don't get a penny from them.
when you come face to face with the harshness of life in a strange country,
This youth man is my picnic. Don't get me vexed.
Ibis, please be reasonable. My life is with Terry.
when secrets are finally revealed,
You again, Alex? You again?
What are you doing in my front door? business do you have with my son?
This is my husband, Ali.
And when the past returns with memories that haunt Josephine,
And you get pregnant. I give you the money and tell you, throw away the belly. What you do? You go tongue buy picnic clothes. You forgot?
We leave our country and come here to make life. And you can't help me with Mackie.
Listen, don't message me. Don't call me. Josephine coming back home.
it's the Police Week Drama Group presentation entitled No Second Chance. Playing at the Antigua Recreation Ground Saturday, 13th September. Time 8 p.m. Tickets are available from any police officer or any police station in Antigua Barbuda. Don't miss it. This is life.
This is Dale Destin, your trusted meteorologist. Hurricane season is here. Are you prepared? At State Insurance Company Limited, we are ready to help you your property. Ensure proper insurance coverage. Visit our website or call us today at 481-7800 for Barbuda, 481-7909 to learn more. State Insurance Company Limited. Your safety is our priority.
The Royal Police Force of Antigua and Barbuda celebrates its 57th Police Week anniversary under the theme Rising to New Challenges and Serving with Greater Dedication. Backed by popular demand for the third time, bigger and better Police Cultural Food Festival on Friday, September 12th, starting from 11 a.m. until at the Rising Sun Cricket Ground. There'll be a wide variety of traditional, local, and modern dishes. There'll be exotic wild meat on sale from the various stalls like Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Santo Domingo, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, the Emerald Isle, Montserrat, Lynn's Delight, Natural Vibration, Tranquility, Ital is Vital, JCI, Antigua, and many more. It's gonna be a fun-filled day of food, music, rides for the kids, and cultural exchange. Enjoy live performances by Caution Band, along with other artists, including our Road March King and famous DJs. All are welcome. Remember the date, Friday, September 12th. Come join us for an unforgettable experience. You have to come.
Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Every drop counts. Preserve it. Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Every drop counts. Preserve it. Antigua dry. No rainfall. Water precious. Don't waste it at all. Fill your tank. Catch your share. No wasting. Just be aware. Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Every drop counts. Preserve it. Water works wonders. Don't waste it. Lessen the amounts. Preserve it.
Water works wonders. Store it and save it. A timely message on water conservation from APUA.
Water works wonders. Don't waste it.
Every Tuesday from 8 p.m., the Honorable E.P. Chet Green and his team delivers the information and debates without prejudice. Yes, the news that matters for you all listeners. So much more than a talk show. We take you beneath the surface. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. with the Honorable E.P. Chet Green and his friends on WTP FM 93.5 and WTPAntigua.com.
Man, I made 'em. It's the stuff you could miss unless you look.
8:35 in Antigua and Barbuda. This is Antigua and Barbuda tonight. My name is Darren Matthew Ward. This is WTP 93.5 FM. We must apologize for we're back on Facebook? Oh, just YouTube. Okay, so we're just on YouTube tonight. I know many of you would have been looking forward to seeing us on Facebook. We apologize for that, but you can click on the link on the Facebook page for WTP and you'll be able to see us on YouTube, all right? So hopefully we'll have that matter sorted out by Wednesday when I come, and certainly by Thursday when I hopefully have a studio full of men of the cloth to say a prayer for people like me. All right, getting back to the COP30 in Belém, which is going to take place I have it right now? Yes, I think so. That's going to be later on this year in the Brazilian jungle. We're speaking about the meeting that took place in Mexico
City.
And some of the takes, the big takes, the perhaps decision points that came out of that meeting. And we're just expanding on this discussion of climate change, its impacts, our resilience or lack thereof, and our desire to become more and more resilient, loss and damage. We're going to explore that. We're going to speak about the framework of the Mexico City Declaration. So we have a number of areas that we want to cover before we conclude our discussion. Just a reminder that our guest, Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, the Honorable Michael Joseph, and I'm calling out all the different names in the interest of time, and Her Excellency Ambassador Relita Camacho Thomas. We were speaking about I think I wanted to sort of get I don't know if you have the answer to this question, but for the listener who wants to at least have an appreciation of what all these meetings and all the technical folks, all the political folks, all the implementation folks, what material, or should I say financial benefit? Is there an amount that we can say, hey, Antigua and Barbuda has benefited $30 million from this whole process that started, again, with your Ambassador Diane Blacklane and the previous minister, or should I say the substantive minister, because Sir Malwin Joseph would have been leading that charge, right?
Yeah. So yes, and of course, we have to acknowledge the significant work that Sir Malwin have done in this area of climate change, not just for Antigua and Barbuda, but leading the entire fight on behalf of the Caribbean, and then of course the Honorable Prime Minister as well. And when we look at what have been accomplished, if we were to say, financial figure, this will be very difficult. And the reason it will be difficult because we're not fighting for money now. We're not fighting and asking for the last 10 years to give us this in 2024, 2025. What we're fighting and arguing for is for survival, and that's the argument that we make. And
we need money for survival.
Yeah, we need money for survival. But as Ambassador Camacho highlighted, it's not a dollar figure that you can put on the table and say.
Okay.
Because unless what the climate is doing now is going to be very different next 2 to 5 years. And so when we look at the issues that we're facing, and of course Ambassador will probably go a bit more into them, when we're looking at the loss of our shorelines, we look at the damage to our coral reefs, when you're talking about the influx of sargassum, when we talk about the loss of some of our flora and our fauna, when we talk about
coral bleaching.
Yeah, coral bleaching, warming of sea temperatures, increase in surface temperatures, the heat waves are experiencing, the floods, the hurricanes. And so it's a very, very large and significant impact that we're talking about. So we're not arguing for a specific amount, because every meeting we go to is quite different. Right. When we were in Vienna, we were meeting with the OPEC fund, and we were talking to them about creating niche program areas that look at funding for biodiversity. And over the years, there have been developments where you now have many of the large donors are saying to countries that, listen, if you're impacted by a disaster, if you borrow a loan from us, and you're impacted from a disaster, you can actually use the funds that you would pay your interest, and you can use that as a write-off towards your recovery. Right. So these are the things that we're fighting for. We don't want anybody to think that we're coming and we're begging with our hands open and saying to anybody, we need money for this, we need money for that. Our first argument is that if you do what you're supposed to do and reduce emissions, we won't have to do this. But because you fail to do this, this is what it's costing us. And we can't, for a small country, we cannot continue to develop as we need to. We're 43 years old, going to be 44. We can't increase our development and still building resilience into that. It's not feasible. It's not practical.
Because we already have a
very narrow fiscal space. Yeah, so it's very, very limited. And so what we're saying to them is, we don't have the mechanism. If you're not going to cut your emissions, we have no choice. We have to say that the impact that you're causing as a large emitter, that you have to compensate smaller countries for that impact. And this is where the loss and damage fund comes in. Of course, Ambassador will be better suited to.
And we'll talk about that loss and damage. But I tell you what, let's head into the loss and damage conversation. What is the loss and damage fund? Tell us about loss and damage. We've heard it.
Let me tell you
quite a
before.
bit.
So there's mitigation, which is reducing the emission of the GHG gases, the greenhouse gases that are causing climate change.
Right.
There's adaptation, which means you're adapting to the impact. And there's loss and damage, which is the point beyond which you can adapt. So adaptation means that you can do something and you can fix it.
Right.
So you can flood here and I can build a wall here and a concrete road and I can do something. There's a point which I cannot do anything about it.
Right.
When a Category 5 storm is coming, the most we can do is batten down and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Right? When the sea temperatures are warming, we can't bring an ice
a big block of ice from Greenland
and warm it. We can't cool it down. There's nothing we can do. So when we have these losses from these rapidly intensifying hurricanes, when we have to put our economy on pause every time because we do not know if it's going to...
It's almost like resetting to zero.
Yes. It is. Every time you have to reset to zero, you have lost something that you cannot regain. That's loss and damage. Now, quantifying that is very difficult because we don't...
That was my next question.
It is very, very difficult. I can go into loss and damage. You can count the loss and damage maybe from Hurricane Lewis. How many people, how many individuals were mentally impacted by those months of not having electricity? How did that affect people's educational pathways? How has that affected generations? What is the social impact of these constant disruptions in our economy? Those are things that we have to study. Nobody else is doing it for us. But these are the types of losses that we're talking about. These are economy-wide losses that governments need direct support quickly to prevent them. And the longer you wait to address these losses, is the worse they become. To the point where they become structural issues that you have in your society, in your culture, and in environment and ecosystems.
Is this one central fund, this loss and
damage
fund?
So the loss and damage